Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm so glad to see all of you. Today is October 7th, 2024. This is Colonial Classics, and I'm saying that because we also put this on YouTube, so it's nice to know that we have the right date and time. This meeting is called the Word, and I'd like to invite Larry to come up and give us some kind of opening inspiration. You have some words for me?
Go for it, Larry. Well, this may be about somebody you may recognize. It's about Forrest Gump, who died and went to heaven. As Forrest approaches the pearly gates, St. Peter greeted him. Welcome, Mr. Gump. We've been anxiously awaiting your arrival. Forrest looked intently, not quite sure what to make of the scene in front of him. Forrest, before I let you into heaven, I need to ask you 3 questions. Would that be all right? Forrest nodded. Okay, Forrest, how many seconds are in a year? Forrest thought for a moment and confidently answered, 12. St. Peter was befuddled. 12? You believe there are 12 seconds in a year? Please explain. Forrest replied, well, there's January 2nd, February 2nd, March 2nd, April. St. Peter interrupted. Forrest, okay, I suppose you're technically correct. That will do. Forrest cracked a smile. All right, Forrest. How many days of the week begin with the letter T? Forrest thought for a moment, furrowed his brow, and then replied, 4. St. Peter, again taken off guard, says to Forrest, 4? How on earth do you get 4? Forrest looked St. Peter in the eye and said, well, you got Tuesday, Thursday, today, and tomorrow. St. Peter nearly fell over with incredulity. Okay, I suppose that's also technically correct. Forrest smiled through. Okay, Forrest, lastly, what is God's real name? Forrest thought about the question. His brow wrinkled. A little bit of sweat began to form on his forehead. Then Forrest's eyes grew and he said with booming authority, Andy, God's real name is Andy. St. Peter slammed his hands down onto the podium. Andy, please tell me, how do you arrive at Andy? Forrest looked St. Peter dead in the eye and said, like the song says, Andy walks with me, Andy talks with me. St. Peter sheepishly looked at Forrest and said, welcome to heaven, Mr. Gump.
Thank you, Larry. That was awesome. All right, we're going to have Lois come up and give us a membership report and a treasurer's report. Lois, you're on.
I don't know if I have an accurate count today because I wasn't at my post all the time. But I wanted signatures of members present, and we have 3 guests. Becky Carter. Becky, would you stand? There she is back there. She's with us. And Jackie Michael. Is that there? Okay. And Sue, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce, I can't read the last name right now. Rollins. We're welcome to all of you. Thank you for being here.
Is there anybody here who didn't sign in? We can add you. There's one more
Okay.
member. Okay. And then go ahead and give us the treasurer's report.
The treasurer's report is the same as last month, $1,139.36 is in our treasury.
Thank you, Lois. If anybody hasn't actually become a member, paid dues to join, you can speak to Lois about that and she'll give you more information. Also about the treasurer's report, we're still working on a project to replace the window shades in the hospitality center. And so we'll keep you updated as we have more information. One more question before we get to the birthdays. Lunch is at Sea Island today, and I'd like to see a show of hands of those who are planning on going so we can make sure we have space over there. So keep your hands up. I'm going to count you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13. I think we have 23, so you food ladies can deal with that. Okay, let's have Adana help us celebrate our birthdays with Lois. Lois is a busy lady.
Whoa, I'm wobbly. Why am I wobbly? I didn't sleep well last night. It's one of those. Okay, but we have 3 lovely ladies who have birthdays in October. And one of them is today, and that would be Barbara Trask. Where is she? She was here a while ago. Come on down, Barbara. And Tony Hayes also has her birthday in October. And Tony's is October 10th. Just come on over here. Just make yourself comfortable. And Georgina Schwartz, her birthday is October 27th. Come on down, Georgina. As soon as we have her here, we will sing our happy birthday song. I'm going to hand Georgina her flower on the way. Okay. Or stand right here if you want. Happy birthday to you. Birthday to you. And many more. Indeed. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Happy birthday, ladies. All right, we're going to move on quickly to old business. I have a lot of things to talk about this week. Oh, no, I already told you about the shades. That was the old business. Okay, that was old business. Do we have any other old business? New business. It's hard to tell. Sometimes is something old? Is it new? Have we talked about it before? Have we not? So I'm just going to talk about whatever I want to talk about and you can label it in whichever place you want it. Okay, so our executive board met last month and we brainstormed ideas about how to increase attendance at our meetings. And one of those recommendations was to invite Sunday school classes and to do an announcement on Sunday morning. So we did both of those yesterday and we'll continue to try to get as much relevant information in the emails and in the bulletins. If you can think of any other ways to encourage people to come, I think a personal invitation is probably the very best way. But also if you speak to anybody that doesn't come, maybe you can learn why not. And that could give us a lot of information as to what things we can tweak or how we can make it more appealing to others. Because I think this is a great group. I love coming. And if we just share that with our friends, maybe they'll want to come too. Yes, Barbara.
The little skit you did yesterday was wonderful.
Thank you. Well, thank you to those that participated. We'll do another one sometime soon and just let everybody know that we're a fun group of people and they should be here, right? Another suggestion I had this morning, especially if we are going to have new people coming is maybe we should start wearing name tags for a while. So that everybody knows, I mean, you might not know each other, you might sit in different places on Sundays and not really speak to each other. So if you have a church name tag and you can remember to wear it, if not, we'll probably start with just some of those stick-on ones that we'll have in case you forgot yours. So we'll do that next month. Maybe I'll even put in the newsletter a reminder to bring your name tag. The next thing is that we had such a successful donation drive for Humane Society that the executive board decided we want to do another donation drive. And so this fall, our plan is to donate new socks of any size to go to Haven for Hope. And so you can bring socks to the November and or December meetings and we'll have a basket to collect them in. They should be new. Yeah, they should be new. Or at least like, you know, yes. Any age, children, women, adults, men, I guess men, women, children, any size, new socks. And Christine and Barbara Moore volunteered to take those down there in early December. So you can bring them next month, you can bring them the month after that. We'll let people in the church membership know too that we're doing it so they can bring extra socks if they want to. So you'll get more information about that in the next newsletter also. Two more things. One is we're doing our jigsaw puzzle swap, and we've been doing that for quite a while, which has been a lot of fun. Make sure you take any puzzles home that you want to today, because we're not gonna do the puzzle exchange again until probably after January. So take the one, if you brought some, if you want to take them back home, and if you want to take some, even if you forgot one today, go ahead and take those puzzles home. We'll restart it after the new year, but what was another thing that was recommended that could be fun for those of you that aren't puzzlers is having a book exchange. And so, but we can do that, but what I would like to have happen though is if you bring a book and you want to take another book home, that's great. But if nobody picks up your book, then after the meeting, take it back home again. Because we don't want any of them left here. We don't want anybody to have to haul them to their house. So we'll try that next month. Bring a book, take a book. But if yours isn't picked up that day, it doesn't mean it's a bad book. It just means that you take it home and try again another time. Does that make sense? Any questions about that? And any kind of book, you know, whatever you think people might be interested in will be fine. All right, one last thing before we introduce our speaker, which I'm very excited about. In November, I just learned that we're going to have a special lunch after our meeting. Next month, we're going to Bill Miller's, not just an ordinary lunch, we're going to have a sit-down Thanksgiving meal. And so they're going to serve us at the table. It's going to be the whole turkey and everything. It's going to be awesome. It should be a lot of fun. But because it's going to be like a pre-planned kind of catered sort of lunch, we are going to need to RSVP ahead of time and pay ahead of time. So I'm going to probably send a separate email to you about that, about how and where to pay and exactly how much. But our food committee thinks it might be under $15, somewhere in that range, which is decent for a nice restaurant meal. So keep your eyes open for that news. And I think that's enough. Any other new business things that I forgot to talk about? Anything you want to talk about? If not, I'll have David, do you want to come up and introduce our speaker? Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I want to thank Larry. You always do a good job with the devotions. I hope they give you that raise you've been demanding. Anyway, it's my pleasure today to introduce a pastor from one of our sister churches. And Pastor John Fagans comes from La Trinidad. United Methodist Church, which is downtown. And a couple of things that really impressed me about his church, I called him and I got his voicemail in English and in Spanish. And then I drove down to his church and he wasn't there, but I met his wife, Raquel. And she's also a pastor. And it made me wonder, how do you do your services? Is it like tag team service or what, you know? Anyway, I'm sure some of you will have questions, hopefully better than that one. So it's my honor to introduce Pastor Don Fagan.
Good morning, everybody. I'm really blessed to be here and honored to be invited to speak here at Colonial Hills. I have visited this church before my current appointment at La Trinidad. I was David Simrad's successor as the director of United Methodist Campus Ministry. And during those years, I was in and out of this context a few times. So it's a blessing to be back and to be in such a warm and friendly location. We'll start the slides in just a minute. Just a bit about myself. I am in my 30th year of appointment service in the San Antonio Episcopal area. So my first pastoral appointment was in La Feria, Texas, which is a small town in the Rio Grande Valley. And that's soon to be very famous because the La Feria United Methodist Church is still La Feria United Methodist Church. Praise God. And I went from there to Laredo and did some missionary work for the conference for 4 years. And then I served Chapel Hill United Methodist Church here in San Antonio, young Chapel Hill that's over there by Lackland Air Force Base. I was there for 5 years and happy to announce that Chapel Hill is still Chapel Hill United Methodist Church. And then we went from there to campus ministry and then over to our current appointment, which I've served since 2013. People have asked, like the question came up about how do you work together as a clergy couple? That's a great question. Raquel and I just naturally work well together. Raquel entered ministry later than me, we're 6 years apart in age. And we work together in both of our worship services. So we have a Spanish and English worship service, and we all have delegated roles in those services. Sometimes she'll preach, sometimes, most of the time it's myself. And we have our duties are shared in the church staff, much like any associate pastor would share staff of a multi-staff church. But my congregation doesn't have a big staff. It's just us two pastors and a couple of part-time folks. But we're downtown. That's it. Oh, ministry. Okay. So that's our picture up there that's on the wall. Y'all have one of these walls in the church where all the previous ministers' photos are? A lot of churches have that. The Hall of Fame pictures, right? So that's there. And we'd like to mention we've been serving there since 2013. La Trinidad United Methodist Church began in 1876. Mexican Methodism as a organized mission of the Methodist Episcopal Church South started in 1873. Now, there were Mexican Methodists prior to 1873 in different places, but they organized work to recruit pastors, to ordain people to start circuits in churches started in 1873. And so we're one of the first generation of the Mexican Methodist churches in North America and in Mexico as well. You might have noticed if any of y'all went to a conference, we had a bit of celebration in 2023 of 150 years of that mission. I traveled to Mexico City to speak at their celebration last December and give a lecture there. If you want to advance, or is this advance? Oh, it does. Oh, you. Or this. Oh, me. The little button. Does that do it? There we go. Okay. Oh, I get to see. I have a monitor. Yeah. That's nice. I don't have to do the look back then. Y'all are so advanced. Y'all always edit everybody, right? I tell you what, Colonial has been a trendsetter. All right. So that's a bit of our appointment and welcome service. this is when my spouse was ordained in 2013. So she was ordained in the Rio Grande Conference, and she was the last elder ordained in the Rio Grande Conference before the merger. Remember, the merger took place in 2014. So Raquel was the last, and Raquel, my spouse, is also the second clergy delegate of our current conference to General Conference, and recently attended the General Conference and serves as the chair of the committee on resolutions courtesy, which may have been she got to speak at the podium every morning for several days. Here, I can get this. These screen is kind of blinky here. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Let me see. Hey. Well, I guess it only advances. Well, there we go. Okay. Let me try it from here and see what happens. There we go. What you have here on this slideshow is a few highlights of the last few years that we've been there. This Ash Wednesday to the People was an effort that a bunch of us clergy did on Ash Wednesday. It's a great idea. We went and gave ashes to whoever we met on the street in San Antonio. It's just kind of advancing on its own. Is it supposed to do that? Sorry. Okay, Holy Week. These are some pictures of our Holy Week celebrations.
You gotta hold it up.
Hold it up.
Huh? Hold it up.
Put it back here.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All Saints celebrations at our church that we have an area kind of like for remembrances and in the style of Mexican culture. Christmas services, we tend to have pageants and costumes. During the pandemic, one of the things that we did was establish home worship kits. So we transitioned very heavily to online worship. During the pandemic, we were closed the entire time until we got everybody vaccinated. So in our particular place of ministry, we had online only from the beginning all the way through to March, April. Actually, we reopened Easter Sunday in 21. After having a vaccination campaign that covered 98% of the congregation and another 150 people in the surrounding neighborhood and the school next door. So we created a zone of exclusion zone, or like a herd immunity zone. And so we safely opened, and we've been very blessed with all that. But we did home worship kits, so we see pictures here of us preparing the for Advent, or Easter, or Palm Sunday, or Mother's Day. And people would drive up and get these, and we give them their communion and the kits ahead of time, and then they would join us synchronously for communion on Sunday morning. This is our youth and young adults group. We have a blended approach, so we don't really make the hard distinctions between children, youth, and young adults. So kind of everybody's sort of family based. One of the nice things there. Let's see, youth camp. It was a custom. Went twice. Well, it was a custom for a lot of times for the Rio Grande Conference youth to go to Sacramento, New Mexico for youth camp. It was a big camp there. This thing has mind of its own. Youth camp. So there's some pictures from youth camp from a few years back. Acolytes, my spouse does a lot of work with the kids. We want to incorporate the children into leadership at a young age, so we start with them and worship leadership with acolytes. They get to help with the acolytes, and then they move into different things. By the time you're working with ushers and greeters, and music and other things. So music ministries, a lot of diversity of music. You can see here there's last Christmas we had a wind group called the LT Winds that we put together to do brass music for Christmas. We've incorporated mariachi musicians into the Sunday service several times, including Easter Sunday. And we've had in the past a pretty large choir. Our choir director retired and out of town. It was a volunteer for many years, Esther Hernandez. I might have met Esther at some point. She was very active regionally. These are some baptism pictures of us baptizing folks. One of the blessings of this church has been not only to baptize a lot of babies, but to baptize first Christian adults. So having folks that are already grown and not been baptized, hadn't made a profession of faith, make their first decision for Christ, and be baptized as adults. And some of those baptisms were river baptisms. So people people are big, we have a big group of them say, hey, do you want to do river baptism? And this is not rebaptism, this be real clear. These are first time baptisms. And we'll have them go out and go out to Colonial Regional Park and out there and do these beautiful and very memorable baptisms that are there. Let's see here. There we go. Bible School Week is a big thing. We have a lot of community activities. Our church has a big gymnasium as part of its facility that we just renovated. And throughout the year, there are a lot of activities that involve the community that take place in that gym. And the Super Bowl is one of the program ideas where the Sunday of the Super Bowl, we have all bring their homemade soups and one prize. You can have all soup you want. Everybody comes and samples all the soups. We've done on Hispanic Heritage Month, we've done Noche Mexicana. Thing of work. Okay. Hello. Let's see. Forward. It's going. There we go. Now it's forward. National Night Out. We just got through having this event. Do y'all do National Night Out? Are y'all a National Night Out site? National Night Out, I highly recommend because it's a great chance to have a block party with all your neighbors, with the people that live near the church in the immediate area. And so we just had ours last week. And a DJ, had food, had first responders from the area drop in, elected officials drop in, candidates drop in, service providers that serve the people in our area all set up these exhibits and booths. And we just opened the church for several hours and people come in and out to enjoy the free stuff and get the door prizes and this kind of thing. So we just had that event. It was very successful. Hispanic Heritage Month is something that I introduced La Trinidad a few years back. Recognizing Hispanic Heritage Month runs from September 15th to October 15th. In fact, I think I've been invited here today because it's Hispanic Heritage. And so what we've done in the past is set up a series of programs that include both academic lectures, the Noche Mexicana cultural event, which is like the Super Bowl, but all Mexican food, and music and games, and a joint worship service with our sister Hispanic churches at the end. So our church belongs to a network, a former Rebranding Conference and Southwest Texas Conference Hispanic congregation that meet together. When back in 2016, we had our 140th celebration, our anniversary, church anniversary, and these are some pictures of that. It was a very strong attendance day with over 400 people in attendance that came out to be supportive. That's our group shot. That's when we had that anniversary celebration. You can see Bishop Martinez standing in the middle of that picture with a stole on. That's retired bishop of our Episcopal area, Rafael Martinez. He and his wife, Raquel, are affiliated with the church, La Trinidad. They're wonderful participants there in our ministry life. Last year, a couple years ago, I got elected to the Historical Society in Mexican Methodism. So Mexico has its own autonomous Methodism, and they have a historical society similar to our archives and history folks here in the United States. And my now late friend, Edgar Avita, arranged for me to be inducted into that group because of the work he and I both done together, preserving and communicating some of the history of our United Methodist mission among Latino people. This is last year at a conference. We had the 150th anniversary of that mission, which if you can imagine a time back in the late 19th century where there was a single annual conference that included churches inside Mexico and in Texas, all in the same annual conference, and where the church here in San Antonio was part of the Monterrey district, with the district superintendent in Monterrey, Mexico, and pastors itinerating freely between both countries and moving back and forth, back before all of the difficulties that arise with immigration, paperwork, and law, and all of that. It's much easier for people to do that. And so that history is our Episcopal area history as well. It's not just the history south of the border, because in Mexican Methodism, if you can imagine, starts in 1873 when Methodism is still divided north and south. the Northern Methodist Episcopal Church and the Southern Methodist Church. And the Northern Methodist started working in Mexico City, came very frequently way up, and the Southern Methodist started in Texas and worked their way south. So Mexican Methodism is a mirror image of U.S. Methodism. So the northern part of Mexico is Southern Methodist. Southern part is more northern because of the way that the people came in 150 years ago. That's true. And so we had a beautiful celebration at the annual conference. Let's see. This is when I got to go down to the same celebration later last year in Mexico City. So there are, again, the Southern Methodist and Northern Methodist churches united in Mexico in 1930 to form the Mexican Methodist Church and to become autonomous from U.S. Methodism. And they had a big celebration that lasted all week. A lot of bishops there from the United States, other church leaders from around the world were there to celebrate. And I was blessed to be able to give a lecture there on a book that was written by one of the missionary founders named William Butler. Anybody here in the United Methodist Women, now called the United Women of Faith? Anybody here belong to that? All right, no. Okay, sorry ahead. One of the founders of the United Methodist Women, which was previously called the Society, the Mission Society, was Butler's wife, Clementine Butler. So the Butlers were big in missions. He also founded Methodism in India before moving into Mexico City and establishing the first annual conference for the MEC in Mexico City. Last year also, we were blessed with the release of the Jovita Dinar coin. If you watch your change, right, quarters circulation, one of those quarters bears the image on the back of a Latina civil rights leader and former who passed away in the 1940s, who was a journalist and a teacher and advocate, one of the early organizers of Mexican civil rights, named Jovita Dinar. Jovita Dinar was a member of the Methodist Church and was educated at the Holding Institute in Laredo, Texas, which was a Methodist seminary institution at the time to train young women to be school teachers. So she was honored on the U.S. border last year, and it was a big deal downtown for us to go to all the celebrations. Some of her extended family members, descendants of those folks, attend church with us. And so it's nice to know those connections. We keep a box of those coins at the church to give to people as kind of a souvenir when people visit the facility. Let's see here. Our church also, over the course of our time there, has collaborated with with a lot of the general agencies. It's one thing for a congregation faithful paying its apportionment and keeping up with connectional giving. Our philosophy on that, since our church is really faithful about that and really does it in 10 months and pays in full and also gives to the 5-star things, is to make sure that those relationships are reciprocal, if that makes sense. So we give to these folks, we want to hear back from them. And so believe it or not, the leaders of these agencies are really happy to make a video and thank the congregation or to collaborate on different projects with the church. And so we've really been blessed. Last year, we were able to host the Commission on Religion and Race, the national group. We hosted them at the church. We worked regularly with higher education and ministry. I work with them at multiple levels of GBHM. In fact, I set up a petition passed at General Conference. I wrote a petition that actually passed, and it'll be in the new discipline. That means that anybody that's a candidate for ministry who's been to licensing school can take the courses, study courses, even if they don't have a church appointment. So they can keep moving in their education, even if they're not appointed before. If you didn't have a church appointment, you could go to school. And of course, if you have school, guess what? You get turned out for an appointment. So it was a catch-22. So got that done last year. We do work with them. Our kids are college featured in their video scholarships. Discipleship ministries, archives of history course, and global ministries. My congregation has 2 members that are active missionaries in global ministries. One is the director. He is the UMCOR on migrants, everything related to migrants, global migration. He lives in Mexico City, and he's also the director of Latin American and Caribbean. His name is Christian Schlegg, and he's a member of the church. And then Professor Pete Zavala who's deployed to Madrid as a seminary professor. Is also a member of the church. Now, both of those people, believe it or not, joined the church during the pandemic remotely from Latin America because our service went wild. I mean, when you erase railroad tracks from churches like mine, a lot of good stuff happens. You know what I'm talking about? The railroad tracks. Like everybody just assumes they'll cross the track and go to church from that side of the tracks. It's sort of regional identity only. Well, that got erased in the pandemic, and so suddenly we had people viewing our worship services from all over the place, from especially in Latin America. About 50% of the viewing was from Latin America, and so those two folks were part of outreach work in Mexico City that we're doing, trying to have an open place in Mexico City for folks that want to affiliate with United Methodist Church. So several years ago, 2016, I got to be an interpreter at General Conference, but not at General Conference, but nearby with World Ministries for training of missionaries. And it was very interesting because the woman speaking was I remember this, she was from Germany. And so she was from Germany, but she was speaking in English. And I had to go from English to Spanish so that people that speak Spanish and Portuguese could get ready to go to Africa, to a Portuguese speaking country. So I was in the chain of that, right? So the lady is native German speaking English at training, and I'm translating her into Spanish for Cubans that speak Spanish and Portuguese that are going to be deployed to a Portuguese speaking country. And I think it's DR Congo in Africa. Okay. I got to do that. It was really a blessing. But, and if you, did y'all speak Spanish? Anybody? Algunos aquí hablan español también. Ok. Solamente para que si hablo español, no me creen, es que no han oído. Okay. So that's just a little sample, but my Spanish. I learned Spanish in high school, and I learned it in college and in Mexico, everyone. I'm part of the, throughout the years, I've worked at both Southwest Texas and the new conference in advocacy for the Hispanic cause of United Methodist, for better inclusion of Hispanic folks within the life of the United Methodist Church. This may surprise you, but Hispanics are the most disproportionately underrepresented people group in the United Methodist Church. They are the fastest growing demographic aspect of the United States, but also the most disproportionately underrepresented. And it is, I mean, to give you an example, our annual conference demographic area is probably 60% Latino overall, and we may have 15% Hispanic membership, and only that because of the merger, right? And also because of the split. The split took out non-Hispanic people. So those percentages are artificially raised at that. The most underrepresented group. And so over the years, I've advocated for this. And what we've tried to do is organize at a conference level. So locally, we have the Alianza, which are people that care about this cause, work with this ministry, and mostly Hispanic dominant churches. And when you think of a Hispanic church, I want y'all to remember there are the Hispanic churches that are Spanish only, and then there are churches like La Trinidad that are English dominant. So my congregation is 80% speak English at home and go to the English worship service. So that's, people are bilingual but prefer English, and so this is something that this community, the Hispanic community, is very diverse in terms of language, in terms of generation, national background, and the number of years that their families have been here in the United States. We have folks in our parish whose ancestors have been in San Antonio 10,000 years because their DNA showed them to be descendant of Native American groups that were colonized by Spain in this area. And we have folks that are Canary Island descendants that are in the congregation as well. So people that predate Texas, that predate Anglo colonization are all there. So we work with the Alianza, and the Fiesta Fellowship is a way to have some fun at the annual conference. One of the things the Alianza is doing right now is the Cosecha, which is a once a month training for Hispanic churches that help. We gather at one church. We have a speaker that equips our laity to be more evangelistic and do more outreach. And then we eat together, and then the church leaders meet together to sort of strategize and think through things. So those are some projects. In 2019, Pedro La Vida, facilitated by trip to Honduras. One of the things I do on the side of pastoral actividad is I'm part of the head faculty at Perkins Regional School of Course Study, which is the seminary for non-seminary people. So people that are local pastors, licensed local pastors, have to get education while they're working, and they take these courses in the summer and they advance through the basic courses of study and the advanced courses of study. I've been teaching with that for 6 years, both English and Spanish courses. I teach Wesleyan Heritage, and I teach theological integration, which is the last course, basic course of study, and advanced history in Spanish. I don't teach advanced history in English because they always put a PhD for that. I don't have a doctorate or a PhD, but I got called down to go to Honduras in 19. Those pictures there are of the United Methodist Mission in Honduras. So the Methodism that's in Honduras, one aspect, one expression of that Methodism is United Methodism. So they have a mission there, and I got to preach, that's me preaching at a church that was founded by Church of the Resurrection. I don't know if y'all heard of Hamilton and Church of the Resurrection. They founded a mission church in Honduras, and I was blessed to preach on Sunday there. And funny thing was, at the end, the pastor told me that the parishioners went to him, and they said, "Pastor, what is he?" And he said, "What do you mean? He looks American, but he sounds Mexican." With my accent, it's more Spanish. So it didn't sound Honduras, it didn't sound okay, so that's what I mentioned about courses study. We hosted religion and race at our church last year. That was wonderful. Cosecha, that's what I mentioned just a moment ago. That we've done work with training Hispanic congregations, equipping, helping, supporting our missionaries. Those are the missionaries I mentioned there. So the Christian is in the top picture with Raquel and me, and that's Pete, with the glasses next to Raquel, who is the professor at the seminary evangelical Spain. We hosted Marcia last year as well. Marcia is the Hispanic caucus of United Methodism. Raquel is currently the executive secretary. Marcia probably will not read. And that this year's meeting is in San Diego, California, from 14th to 16th of November. We're planning to go to that. But we were blessed to be chosen as host site for Marcia last year, which was a busy week for us, with bishops and Hispanic leaders, clergy from all over the United States gathering to mobilize their efforts. As I mentioned, Raquel was the delegate at the General Conference, part of the delegation, and had a role, speaking role at that. Lighthouse, our church voted to be a lighthouse church. And I think if we had done this like 1 or 2 days when Brother Dan called me and said, "Hey, I want to do that at Colonial." That's right. Right? And we just passed the resolution over here, and y'all modified it and voted it here too. So that's been a blessing at our church. And even though here's the interesting thing that, again, we talked about the railroad tracks. Our church did not experience this big surge in growth for having a lighthouse, right? So we didn't get disaffected, and people from churches and disaffiliated just piling in and joining. Because I think I actually picked up 2 people, and both were Latino people. But we had lots of community people. That was what was interesting. Like people that live in and around the church in the west side of San Antonio that sort of had a loose relationship and visit every now and then. They said, "Well, we like this. We're going to join church now." And so we've got some serious people that have been a big blessing to the church. Our missions chair, one of our brothers over there, Henry Rodriguez, is big with LULAC. I don't know if y'all heard of LULAC. I'm actually a member of one of the councils of LULAC and work with them as a chaplain. And so he united with the church as well. So it was interesting. We didn't see the transfer road. We actually saw the profession faith road from that, which is even better, right? Some of one of the strategies that we've done like that, because our budget is only around 300,000. I mean, it's not a really big church budget. It's not a huge congregation with about 50 active households. Is to partner with outside groups to serve through the church. So we want to do something, we'll find a community partner, we'll go in with them, and they'll happily pay for a lot of stuff, and we just bring people and do the groundwork. For example, I have HEB on here. Prior to the pandemic, HEB was our partner for the Easter egg hunt. And we would go to a nearby park. Every we would just come around and all these families would show up. It was just a really big blessing. We've posted Essie Kellum on here. That's who gave us the vaccine access when we had to do vaccination drives. Essentia Home Health, voter SVREP is the Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, voter registration. National Night Out, Raíces, March for Our Lives. We were the host site for the Town Hall for Our Lives. March for Our Lives, young people from Florida. We're traveling all through the nation speaking about they're advocating for common sense gun laws and such. They made our church their stop and hosted a meeting there that had dozens of people show up. Very beautiful. Academic American citizenship classes that we offer at the church. And Cooper Academy is the San Antonio Independent School District Credit Recovery High School next door to the church, right across the street. And they come over once a week to be able to play basketball, hang out, speak to pastors if the kids need it. We have a beautiful relationship with that school that's been going on for a very long time. And we also network with local leaders. So these are some selfies and pictures with me and different folks, some of whom you all might recognize, politicians, elected officials, teachers, other folks. It's been very helpful. There was a time, we don't do this anymore, when we partnered with UTSA to have drop-in daycare in the evening. So students that are going to the downtown campus of UTSA, which is 2 doors down from us, could drop off their kids and have childcare at night while they're taking night classes. And so we did that for about 2 years, and then enrollment fell, and we didn't do it anymore. That's there. There was a moment when RACE called us. RACE is one of the immigrant rights groups and immigrant legal services groups in town, nonprofit. They called us and they said it was holidays. They said there's going to be a mass parole of people at night. It's cold and we need a place where they'll all be dropped off. Right? They couldn't drop them in the bus station. Too many people. What are we going to do? Can we use your church? And I said, yeah, sure. And we cooked up a big pot full of calabacita con pollo, chicken with squash soup, a bunch of this, and all of a sudden these families started showing up. And they had been inside detention centers. They were mostly women and children that have been in these family detention centers. Some of them had monitors. Some of the kids had just received adult dose vaccinations, and their arms were completely swollen up from all of the shots that they were just all given at once. Imagine all your lifetime shots all given at one time. So they were a little ill, and they needed a place to send intake. So we went off the church for this time, like 3 times, and it was a very moving experience for the people there, especially for me. At the time, my son Raquel and me have a son together now. He's now 14, but he was small, and the children were in our playroom and they were playing together for the first time. And the parents were saying these kids had not played in months, and they also hadn't had anything decent to eat because they were fed bologna sandwiches every meal the whole time they were in detention. So they weren't given nutritious food in there. We served them home cooking. So they were blessed with the home cooking. They relaxed, and they were playing for the first time and not clinging, not clinging. And the thing that really got me was one of the parolees, a woman from Latin America, asked my wife, how did your son learn English so quickly? Okay, they couldn't tell the difference between my wife and my son and the other detainees. Okay, and if they can't tell the difference, how would a police officer tell the difference by looking, right? And I was really moved by that. And I'm a 9th generation American. My ancestors were from the Virginia colony and fought the American Revolution. So my son Vincent is a 10th generation American on my side and a 1st generation Bolivian American on mom's side at the same time. One person, right? That was a really amazing experience. And the family I'm standing there, the man and the family, the father, you see the little boy with a little dog. That's his son that he met at my church. He had never met him. He immigrated to the US first, left behind a expecting mom. She had a baby, 2 years went by, then she came, and he got to meet his 2-year-old son at our place. That day. It's just really amazing. This is a Cooper Academy partnership. It's not just kids coming over to play basketball. There's teen parents, there's food assistants, there's a lot that goes on in auxiliary support. The school tells us that our work with them has allowed them to see a real extreme decline in fights and criminal stuff going on at the school. So they had a whole lot less visits from the police or other things that went to campus. It was previously a very problem campus. It was the #1 drug campus in San Antonio, California, and now not even on the charts, and much higher graduation rates. So the kids are completing the school and everything, and they credit the church the fact that we provide this venue for them to come together and be kids. That school doesn't have that. That was our vaccination drive. Come on, go back. Come on. Hello. There we go. Vaccination. I think it's a little delayed here. I pressed the button too many times. Okay. All right. That is Cooper. Their vaccination, like I mentioned, we've got a whole bunch of people vaccinated. Lloyd Doggies there was a brief picture there. I did work with what he got on family separations. I don't know if you remember that a few years ago, where they were taking kids away from parents at the border to try to scare other people coming here. Town Hall for Our Lives, I mentioned that from the March for Our Lives kids. Was at our church. So we did a public witness against that. Social Chavez is likely on the march with the Latino side of the West Side. We've done both marches, MLK and Social Chavez marches. Both wonderful occasions, really fun. I spoke at Christian nationalism at a recent meeting of the American Democratic Party. I was president of the Rotary Board. This is just Rose Gonzalez. She has a specialized court that helps do restorative justice with people that are first offenders, but not serious offenders of domestic violence. That it turns people away from that and is very successful. And back in America. And I'm proud of the fact that over the 12 years we've been there, we've done $1.4 million in debt-free improvements to the building without ever borrowing anything. And so the church is debt-free, and we did all of those improvements without going to the bank to borrow money, which is a nice, it's good for a church like ours to have that. And you can see some of the improvements there, the fountain, the fountain, the offices, set up this internet broadcast. That was my son, by the way, doing that. I'm proud of the fact that I made the motion to make the Rio Texas Bilingual Annual Conference. So we merged, that was somehow left out, and I was allowed by the board to make a motion to put that in there in the standing group so we can make bilingual conference. We're the only one in Methodist which is Spanish bilingual. I think that's it for my presentation. Question. Got a little bit of time. I think we've got about 5 minutes, right? We end at noon, right? Noon? Okay, question. Absolutely. There's a big difference. Southern Methodism and Northern Methodism themselves had a very different character even before the split between the North and the South. And it wasn't just about slavery, it's about how the episcopacy carries on, how people understand piety, faith, and worship. And so, yes, there are very big differences. What you'll find in Southern Mexico, the churches tend to be more traditional, liturgical, and a little bit more on the intellectual side. In the North, they're revivalistic and charismatic. So those are the biggest differences that you notice between North and South. Same as the U.S. between the Norths. Only it's a very big. So that's a very good question. Others, please, anybody. And thank you for your attention. I know it's a lot of like open up a fire hydrant, but this is 12 years of work. Anybody else? Other question? Yes.
You said you were in Honduras. Does the Methodist church there do any work with families to help them stay out of the being, their children being recruited by the gangs? They're, understand that that's a big reason for the migration from Honduras.
That is the principal work that's done. I mean, the whole point of founding churches and communities of faith is to work with families and have an integral approach to mission that develops the whole family. So when these families are there with the church and their children are attending church, they are much less likely to fall into those other types of relationships that lead to that kind of delinquency and problem. And they're also somewhat less likely to migrate. What we've noticed in migrants is that a good number of these folks are just suburban soccer moms that are tired of the violence and are trying to get away from it. And if you know Spanish and listen, I was coming back from that meeting in Chihuahua on the train on Amtrak from El Paso, and these people were standing next to me to get on the train, and they were wearing sweats, and all they had was sweats and a little plastic bag. And the guy's phone went off, and it was a Christian song on the phone. And I said, "Are you a Christian?" "Yes, I'm a believer. I'm a Christian." And they were migrants. They'd just been rolled out. All of their belongings have been burned. All of their suitcases have been incinerated. All they had was the Crocs and sweats, and it was winter. They were headed to New Jersey where it was 16 degrees below zero. Okay. And I said, "Look, let me sit with you. I'm going to sit with you on the way to San Antonio. The train stops in San Antonio. And I'm going to make some phone calls. Give me your sizes. Give me what you need. We'll see what we can do for you. We have a stop in San Antonio." So we were blessed to offer this family those supplies, but they were just Christian, normal people getting away from it. That was why they left, and they're asylum. They have an asylum case, so they'll be heard of that and time comes. But thank you. That's exactly a major part of it. All righty. Yes, ma'am.
I want to hear from Dan, like, how do you know each other, Dan? And
Yeah, brother.
Good to see you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for having
Yes,
us.
sir. I have admired John Vegas in our conference and our connection for years. I was in the ordination class with Raquel, and when they mentioned the 14-year-old son, I remember when she was great with child.
Yeah.
It's been many years where we've kind of worked alongside each other. John's one of the guys that I always want to talk to whenever we have meetings, and we're due for lunch or coffee sometime soon. When he was mentioning some of these ideas, one of my favorite parts about United Methodism is we get to take these ideas from one another. If the church is doing something like when you talked about the night out, national night out, that's something I was like, oh man, we could certainly do that and invite the neighborhood around.
You got a beautiful venue. You got a youth.
We do. We really do. And there's things that we try to have just for the neighborhood, just different events that we have.
Our schools completely self-funded, no budget.
All right.
The coordinator got donations from everybody, that all exhibitors got all the donations that you be $3,500, and all the was covered. It was 100% paid with the unity money. So
It's
anything except the facilities.
It's awesome to hear all that's going on at Trinidad, and just to know that we're connected in that way, and we'll continue. So I just wanted to sort of say that, and if there's any ideas that you heard from this and you want to mention that to me, it's something that maybe we could do. Yeah.
I'd love to hear a mariachi, excuse me. I'd love to hear a mariachi service.
Absolutely.
YouTube, yeah. If you go to YouTube, Easter service last year, earlier this year, I think. This year? I believe it was, might be this year or the previous year we did it during. But I can sit further down and you can watch the service a lot. All our best services are there.
I love it. That's we would love to have something with a mariachi band. We last time I saw one, I guess, was at the wedding. We had an all-female, Matt running an all-female mariachi.
And they do a lot of Christian music.
Top notch.
Yeah.
But anyway, I didn't want to say anything else besides just, I'm thankful for our connection and we're looking forward to more opportunities to serve again.
Right. Thank you. One of my good friends here in the conference. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'll be hanging around. So if y'all want to.
My brother Dan said, all of those ideas are open ideas. We copy each other's ideas of Methodism. We like to, for a connectional church, we like to share all these good ideas and duplicate them, replicate them, and spread the love around and the prosperity for the church as well. Amen.
Thank you. And Pastor John will be joining us at Sea Island, so we all can visit with him more. Our next meeting is going to be on Monday, November 4th. The program will be presented by Christopher Rodriguez, the executive and artistic director of Wonder Theater. Should be a lot of fun. So before we head out to lunch, let's have Lynn come and listen a closing devotion and blessing for our meal.
I'll just go straight to the blessing of the meal. I think this has been so inspiring. Thank you so much for the program and great program community work getting together. So we vow for our blessing. Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together. Thank you that we're part of an organization that is striving to serve you, and the conventional way that we do that can be only magnifying your love and your grace throughout the world. Thank you for your leadership in our daily lives. Thank you for helping us care for each other. Thank you for your hand in ministry as even now there are folks responding to the storm, which is very much on my heart, being a part of North Carolina. But we give you thanks so much for your love and your grace, for the food that you give us and the blessings that we receive each and every day. Help us to understand our role as your Christian children. And we love you. And thank you. Amen.
All right, don't forget to pick up your jigsaw puzzles on the way out, and the meeting is adjourned.